With Wendigo getting sunset, no heavy grenade launcher will have blinding nades. But what if I told you there is one heavy, and only one, that can be used in Beyond Light for the same effect? Hey gamers, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to look at some of the most useful utility weapons in the game. These will help you extremely in hard activities like the Day 1 raid or anything else in Beyond Light. So, blinding grenades. You're probably most familiar with this perk on Wendigo, but you may have heard some chatter of the perk on some special grenade launchers. Blinding grenades works as follows. Shoot a grenade, and then enemies in a large AoE get the blinding effect, which makes them cover their faces and prevents them from shooting at you. Enemies that get blinded will have this reddish-purple effect above their heads as well for the duration of the blinding. It's used a lot in Grandmaster Nightfalls to keep enemies from just destroying you. Here I selected Flash and Thunder, a Year 1 special grenade launcher to test blinding grenades, as it has the two grenade types we're going to be looking at in this video. For blinding grenades, you don't even have to hit the enemy to blind them, but we will hit them in this example to test them. Let's see how long the effect lasts. 5 seconds. 5 seconds, you'll completely disable an enemy. This is extremely useful when the enemies are very lethal, like under the contest modifier. When the blinding effect runs out, you can quickly reapply it and switch back to whatever your damage weapon is. Just remember, bosses and certain elites like champions cannot be blinded. The other grenade we are interested in is the concussion grenades. This one reads as follows. Grenades fired from this weapon emit a blast that staggers enemies. When I read that, I usually think of staggering as like the normal knockback. After some testing, I realized this applies the exact same effect as blinding grenades. But what's the catch? Concussion grenades require a direct hit to blind enemies. So you need to get damage numbers on an enemy for them to be affected. As seen here, shooting a blinding grenade in the center of these enemies will blind them all, a huge area of effect. But shooting a concussion grenade will not blind any of them. Now shooting a concussion grenade and hitting this enemy will apply the effect and blind the enemy. What I like to think of this as is the good old Call of Duty days with a flashbang stunning a whole room, while concussions only affect those directly hit by the blast. How long does concussion's effect last? Using the same grenade launchers before this Flash and Thunder, we see the concussion grenades effect last 5.4 seconds. Slightly longer than the blinding, but harder to pull off. Here's a side-by-side comparison of blinding grenades and concussion grenades. Both of these perks are good, but the blinding can easily hit a whole room. The problem is there will be no blinding grenade heavy come Beyond Light. Only blinding nades we are going to have in Beyond Light is on the special weapons. So let's look at just blinding grenades. Come Beyond Light, this perk will only be available in high level activities on the Truth Teller and the O-Rings Mall from Season of Arrivals, both energy weapons. You've probably heard about having a Truth Teller with blinding nades already. Looking at the perks, you're going to want a blinding nades Truth Teller with auto loading and disruption break or demolitionist. The other perks are not that bad either. I like some of the ones I have that have both blinding nades and spike nades, so I can decide which one I want, and then having a grave robber and demolitionist for a 4-shot combo like this. Really anything with blinding nades is good here. O-Rings Mall should be around the same, but the perks are not distributed as nice as Truth Teller. So for blinding grenades, definitely pick up a Truth Teller if you haven't already. Only those two weapons have the blinding nade perk, so what am I getting at for this mysterious heavy weapon? Well, let's look at the concussion grenades. Light.gg. Well, there it is. Outrageous Fortune is the only heavy that can run concussion grenades. Also can see it rolls on the other two energy weapons mentioned earlier, but at that rate you would probably rather have blinding grenades, as the area of effect of blinding is much better. Outrageous Fortune is going to be the go-to heavy weapon. Let's look at the perks you want. Auto loading for sure, and then quick draw or really any of the other second perk options. Here's mine. I was lucky to again get spike and concussion grenades, so I can quickly swap between the damage of spike nades and the blinding with concussion grenades. But how much damage do we lose by not using spike nades? Obviously, spike nades is the king of damage. When we use blinding or concussion, we're looking at blinding enemies rather than killing them. But what if a damage phase comes up and you have to use that weapon for DPS? Let's compare the numbers. For Truth Teller with the following stats, no mod, and spike nades, we hit 15,532. Swapping to blinding grenades only changes it to 14,256, a roughly 1,000 damage decrease. Not too bad. Now for Outrageous Fortune. Spike nades with this roll and a full Masteric, which is actually going to hurt spike nades damage because blast radius is negatively correlated with it. Anyway, spike nades is going to hit for 14,807, and switching to concussion grenades only hits for 11,764, an almost 3,000 damage decrease. That's why getting this perfect roll where you can quickly swap to spike nades for DPS is going to save you a lot of damage on bosses. This spike nades and blinding nade or concussion nade option allows this weapon to serve two purposes, making it very, very useful. Now for those curious, these weapons, Truth Teller and Outrageous Fortune, are both in the world loot pool. Means you can almost get them everywhere. Vendors, legendary drops, pretty much anything. If you want to farm it, just be careful cashing in some of your resources, as saving them for Beyond Light for leveling might be more useful, so be careful on that. Well gamers, that's about it. Truth Teller is the blinding nades go-to for entry weapons, but if you want to use like a different special weapon for like damage or some encounter, then an Outrageous Fortune with concussion grenades can just fill that slot. Controlling enemies is half the battle in hard activities. I can almost guarantee you there will be some teams running multiple blinding grenades or concussion grenades on their loadouts, because in a day one raid or the hard activities that we will face in Beyond Light, making enemies not shoot you is a lot better than trying to test if you're going to survive to them. So I can tell you for sure, for our team, we will definitely have someone running this and maybe a stasis subclass, and just solely focus on neutralizing and controlling the enemies instead of killing. Let me know what roles you guys got on these weapons and which ones you are saving for Beyond Light. We're so close to 10,000 subscribers, so consider subscribing today if you enjoyed what you see. More is to come. I can't wait for Beyond Light and all the content that will come with it. Really hoping to hit 10K before Beyond Light. But anyway, appreciate all of you for watching. Thank you, and I will catch you gamers in the next one.